Today I'm going to be reviewing the Acer Aspire 7 gaming laptop. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader. So, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be reviewing another tech product. Now a few months ago, I think it was last year, I reviewed a monitor screen which got a lot of views and a lot of people really liked that video. So today I'm going to be reviewing this product. This is the Acer Aspire 7G. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up and show inside. So as you can see over here, this has one of those safety seals. This is probably for the warranty. You can't actually scratch this off or pull it off, otherwise only one half of the layer will actually come off. Unfortunately we do have to cut this, but hopefully everything should be fine inside and all the contents should not be damaged. So I am going to try and carefully snip this open with scissors, but for the most part it should just break very easily when we put the scissors in, because obviously I don't want to damage the actual product itself. And it opens up pretty simply. This is basically just a cardboard box at the end of the day. So once we flip it over, it should now pop up now that we've actually opened the seals, but it might take a bit of a push for these two flaps to come up. So these flaps are really embedded into the other part of the cardboard, so it's very easy to damage the front of the box. Most of it's being kept fine, but a little bit of it has obviously torn, which is very simple to do. And when we open it up, we get a few different sections. So this, which is under some cloth, this is very thick stuff to obviously protect it, is probably the actual machine itself. Then on the right side we also have a separate box, and inside here we have a few different plugs. So we have the main power cable, which as you can see has the connector there to go into the actual power outlet, which is the block that you usually get. So that is obviously the other piece here, and that's where the cable would go into that three-pronged connector over there. So this is the normal power outlet. So these are the power cables you get, and that's what's inside that little flap there. Then the other side is just pure protection. There's nothing actually contained in there, so we can just pull these out because these are just here just so it fits in the box and doesn't fall around and get damaged. This is actually in a really nice thick cloth material, which is nice because they've actually put some effort into actually presenting it and obviously keeping it safe. So if I just pull this off carefully, then you can see here is the actual machine, which looks a lot nicer in shape than I thought it did. You can see over here it has kind of like a square shape at the back. You turn it over, it has the text on top and the logo in the middle, which obviously if we flip it will be the right way around. Then if we lift it up too, you can see inside there's also a cloth which obviously covers the keyboard, which is below the screen, just to keep the screen from having any smears on it. And obviously there's some tips on the use of the product and things underneath, which we'll open later. Below that you will get the manual, which is obviously how to use it. This is the setup guide. This is pretty pointless at the end of the day because all you really need to do is just boot it up and load Windows 10. I will read that of course, but it's just simple stuff, starter things for beginners, such as how to set up the Ethernet cable and the WLAN connection, for example, which is just the most basic things. Then the other things are things like your warranty and random information, which is what I just looked at, which I'll blur out of course. And then this, which is another sort of product guide or something. I have no clue what this is, but it's in multiple different languages. So of course this is actually the base machine itself. If we pull off the cloth and everything, this is what it looks like by default. So it has some additional information. For an example, we do have a backlit keyboard, so at night time if you're trying to watch something, that's super useful. For an example, Netflix, you actually know where your keys are if the light's turned off, which is quite nice. I'm not sure if that's actually in a different colour like green or red. I would hope it would be, but if it's just white it doesn't matter. There's a HDMI port, which I presume you could connect it to like a TV or something, or maybe even use a capture card. I'm not sure particularly what you can connect to that. And then it has Wi-Fi 6, which claims it's very fast Wi-Fi. Now I want to use this in a hotel to use the connection to play games or watch stuff, so that should be good enough for me. And then it says certain things about the display, etc. Then over here, obviously on the flip side, we have a few other stickers which are related to the actual products within. So the first one is obviously the CPU sticker, which is the AMD Ryzen 5, and then the GeForce GTX, which is the graphics card from NVIDIA. So that's all your keyboard keys and the setup. The mouse is interesting because this is actually on the left side, okay? And there is kind of like a strange extra button here, which you can actually click in. And I'm not very familiar with laptops, even though I've owned them in the past. I have no clue what that is. I don't know if that's some kind of special thing, but it has the main 2-click setup, but like some laptops, this is shifted to the left side, which I would think is kind of strange. I thought it would be more centered. Maybe that's something to do with gaming, or maybe access, so you have your left hand on the keyboard and then your right hand. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try and attempt to turn it on. I'm not sure if we actually need the power cable first, or if there's any kind of power out of the box. Sometimes in products you can just start them straight off the bat. For example, the last laptop I bought, it was already pre-charged, but I think this we're going to have to obviously manually charge it or connect it. The charger cable itself doesn't actually connect that far out, and this is the type of connector. It's a very blocky thing, and you just plug it onto the right side of the laptop here, and then hopefully we should have the power input to actually turn it on. Okay, so we've got the power input on now because the orange light is flashing, so I'm just going to press the power button and load it up. And it did say there was a backlit keyboard, which I'm guessing is just going to be the whitey blue colour constantly. I don't think we can actually change this, but maybe there might be some kind of software on the computer to change the colour. But I think for the most part, the white and blue keyboard backlight colour is going to stay the same. But I actually do like the appearance of that. It's not like my normal PC gaming keyboard where I can just change the colour manually, but at least it'll mean that if it's dark you can actually see what you type in. And as you can see, it is actually booting straight up to Windows 10.
I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help.
This is Windows 10 Home Edition, which is already preloaded on it. I think after you go through the full setup, I think the drivers might already be installed for all the hardware, which I'm hoping it is, because I don't want to have to go on the computer and manually install everything. But obviously this isn't a tutorial for the Windows setup, so I'm going to go through this and then show the computer from the desktop view. This is the Acer Aspire A715-41G, but there's also the A715-75G. Basically, there's two different models which have the exact same specifications that this laptop has. The only difference is the other one uses an Intel i processor, and this one uses a Ryzen. This laptop has Windows 10 Home Edition, and it uses the Ryzen 5 3550H, which is basically a 2.1 GHz quad-core processor. And the graphics card is the GTX 1650, which is basically a laptop variant which is very similar to the 1060 but just a little bit better. This is basically on par with the graphics card which I actually currently have in my main PC, which is the 1060, but it's more comparable to the 3GB version, whereas my computer uses the 6GB version. I haven't yet made the upgrade to the 3090 because I haven't built my new PC, although I do have it stored away ready for a new PC build. So this laptop is pretty close to the same graphics that my computer has, but the CPU is a little bit weaker. The screen size itself is 39.6 centimeters, which is basically 15.6 inches, which is quite a small screen, but it's a lot bigger than a lot of standard laptop screens, because obviously it's designed for gaming. Now, I've always used a computer, so it's a bit strange to play on such a small screen, but you can see most of what's on the screen, and it's a pretty big screen for a laptop. A lot of people use small screens for their computers, like 19-inch displays, so it's a lot smaller than that, but you can get away with playing on it. The laptop has 8GB of DDR4 memory, which has 2 total slots for the memory, and it's a 512GB solid-state drive, which is an SSD. That's why it actually launches up really quickly, so I'm actually going to turn it on. I'm not sure how charged it is. If we turn the laptop on, the boot time is actually really quick. It does also have built-in Ethernet and wireless LAN. You can easily connect this straight up to the wireless system as well, which is super simple to do. Now, what's great about this is it has 2 speakers but also a built-in microphone. Now, the microphone's not very good and the webcam is actually quite low quality too, but I am going to show you both these features on the laptop just so you know the quality of the microphone and the look of the webcam. It uses a standard 3-pin connector which goes into a power brick as an AC adapter to hook it up into the mains to power the laptop. So one thing that's worth noting is there's 2 different separate models of this laptop. The first being the 75G, which has an Intel CPU variant, and the second one, which is this one, which is the 41G, which actually utilizes the Ryzen 5 3550H, which is basically a 2.1 GHz quad-core processor. You might be able to see on the laptop there is a Ryzen sticker and a GeForce sticker. That's because it uses the NVIDIA GTX 1650, which is basically a laptop GPU which is comparable to the GTX 1060, which would be used in a desktop PC. Now, I actually do have the 1060 in my computer, but I use the 6GB variant, whereas this card is very similar to the weaker 3GB version. So this is a little bit better than the 1060 card, but it's a laptop version, but it's probably about the same as the 1066GB version for desktop PCs. It has 8GB of RAM, which is basically the average RAM that you need nowadays. Most computers have 8 to 6GB. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on. So now that I've showed you the power connector and everything, let's turn on the machine, and you can see the keyboard brights up really nicely with the white color, and it has a really nice backlit white LED keyboard. Now the reason why this is so good is because obviously if you're playing video games, sometimes you'll play them in the dark, for an example, or if you're watching Netflix at night time, it can be really nice when the keys get illuminated so you don't need to turn the lights off. It's also a nice feature just generally for gaming hardware, because most modern gaming keyboards do actually have backlit lights on the keyboard and different colored LEDs when you use them. So let's get logged into the PC. So this does actually have an operating system which is shipped with a laptop, which is good. Obviously most laptops will come with an OS with them. Obviously Windows 10 Home Edition is probably one of the cheapest versions of the operating system. Now one thing as well is I will switch to screen view momentarily and use a screen recorder because I don't want to show the screen with a camera. But as you can see, the laptop does actually come with Norton Security Essentials or Security Ultra, which is the trial. You'll see a lot of laptops which come with an antivirus. Usually it's Bulldog Internet Security or Norton. I've not really used that at all because I prefer just using Malwarebytes, but you can see that my trial has actually ran out, and I bought this laptop around 2 months ago, so I think you do get around 30 to 60 days trial of that antivirus because I haven't actually used this since the last time I went on holiday. So now I'm going to switch to the desktop view and show you some benchmarks of a few games which I have installed. Most of them aren't the most modern or popular games, but I just want to show you an idea of the laptop running a few games. Okay, so as you can see right now I'm using the built-in webcam for the video on the Acer Aspire 7. The webcam is actually pretty good quality. Obviously it's not as strong or doesn't have as much clarity as my Logitech C920, which is a HD webcam, but you can see that it is recording at a pretty decent resolution. Now I'm not 100% sure what the specific resolution of this webcam is, but you can see it looks pretty clear. There's no real delay or lag in between me talking with my voice, or really not so much at all. So it would be pretty good for a conference call or talking to your friends and they could see you clearly and what you're saying. So it's a pretty good, decent webcam that comes with a laptop. Obviously, it would be worth investing in a better webcam, but if you're using this for recording videos, for an example, this webcam would pretty much just be suitable, especially if you're a small channel. It provides pretty good video, and along with some good lighting, if you get some light boxes or improve the lighting of your room, it would obviously look a lot better. And of course, at the same time, I'm also using the inbuilt microphone on the laptop as well. Now this is an open room, there's no soundproofing or any kind of audio setup in here, so you can kind of gauge what the level of echo would be in a medium-sized room and the quality of the microphone itself and any background noises from things like the fridge that it would pick up. So that was my review of the Acer Aspire 7 gaming laptop. Make sure to go in the description down below if you are interested in this gaming laptop and like the performance and the specs. Do click on the link below where you can buy it from, which will be a link to Amazon. The laptop's pretty good for gaming. It can run a lot of modern games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Fortnite, Apex Legends, and some of the most popular games on medium high settings with a pretty stable 60 FPS and sometimes 100 FPS on certain games. So it's a pretty strong laptop when you play the modern games. And for only $599 to £600, it's a pretty good entry-level gaming laptop, which is actually really cheap in comparison to a lot of the other competitor products. As a conclusion, I did actually want to get this laptop for when I actually travelled abroad and went on holiday, just as a way to play games at night time when I was bored in the hotel, or to watch Netflix on and basically do work away from home. And it actually did meet my expectations and was a really good product to use, and I really benefited off it when I was on holiday. I tended to actually play a lot of older games on this laptop, so I did kind of waste the power which it actually offered, but that was mainly because the laptop only has an SSD drive on it. You can't really fit that many games on it. When you first boot it up, you'll have usually around 250 gigabytes of space, which is really not much these days in the long run in terms of installing games, because the laptop's memory storage capacity is very small. So I could only install one big game, which was Fortnite, and a few other smaller games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and some older titles which were smaller in memory. I could probably fit one more big game on this laptop like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but for the most part, the capacity for the memory is pretty small, which is probably the only shortcoming of the actual product itself. But I would recommend that you can run most modern games on medium to high settings, like I said. So if you do want an entry-level gaming laptop that's portable if you don't have much space, or something you can play games with and do work from home on, then this is a pretty good cheap option. So make sure to click the link below if you want to buy it. This video is not sponsored in any way, this is just my personal laptop which I bought and just felt like reviewing. And make sure to like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.